Overcoming peer pressure. Some of the hardest moments come when facing peer pressure. Saying no when all your friends are saying yes takes raw courage. However, standing up to peer pressure, what I call won't power, is a massive deposit into your PBA. A counselor at a high school shared this. A freshman girl rushed into my office before school with tears streaming down her face. They hate me! They hate me! She had just been dumped by her group of friends who told her to get lost because she had been too good the day before to ditch school and ride up to Chicago for the day. She said at first she wanted to go, but then thought how much it would hurt her mom when the school called home and told her that her daughter wasn't at school. She felt she just couldn't do that to her mom because she had made so many sacrifices for her. She couldn't let her down. She stood up and said, "No, I can't do it." And everybody just blew her off. She thought the next day that everything would be okay, but it wasn't. They all told her to find new friends because she was too good for them. Through the tears and pain, she began to see that she felt good inside, but lonely as her friends didn't accept her. But she accepted herself and gained self-respect and inner peace despite outside rejection. A life lesson learned and a moment of standing up for herself. Sometimes peer pressure can be so strong that the only way to resist it is to remove yourself entirely from the environment you're in. This is especially the case if you're involved with a gang, a fraternity, or sorority, or a tight group of friends. For Heather, changing her environment was the best solution. Even though I knew for a long time that I needed to change my friends, I just didn't know how. My best friend would encourage me to do the things she was, like sleeping around and doing drugs. Before long, people at school started to call me Easy. I still wanted to be friends with her and my other friends because I would think about all the good times we'd had together. Yet, when I went out with them at night, we would get into stuff we weren't supposed to do. I knew I was holding on to things that I shouldn't be. I decided I needed to change my whole environment and get away from it all. I asked my mom if I can go and stay with my aunt and get a new start and find a better group of friends. She agreed, and since then, I've moved in with my aunt. Now, around my new friends, I say whatever I feel is right, and I am being more myself. I don't care what people say about me, and if they don't like me, then oh well. This is me, and I'm not going to change just to fit in with them. I'm going to change for me. To overcome peer pressure, you've got to care more about what you think of you than what other people think of you, as this short poem by Portia Nelson reminds us. Any day of the week, I would choose to be out with others and in touch with myself than to be in with others and out of touch with myself. Why is peer pressure so hard to resist? It's because sometimes you're just dying to belong. That's why teens are often willing to go through brutal hazing rituals to become a member of a club, fraternity, or sorority. Some get into drugs and violence to become a member of a gang. Some feel they have to suck up to certain people to be popular, then drop their old friends on the way up the social ladder. At times, you may need to take a risk, resist the peer pressure, and do the right thing. John of Brooklyn told this story. Some of my friends in sophomore year started a page on Facebook about hating one girl in our class. It was really awful. They'd make memes out of her photos and write terrible messages about her. There was really no reason to do this. She was just kind of an outsider and people were taking it so out of control it wasn't even funny. Some of my friends were pressuring me to participate, but I just refused. Finally, I reported the group for hate speech anonymously and it got shut down. I knew it was the right thing to do. I also told the principal, without naming any names, that some people in the grade were cyberbullying, and we had an assembly about it. I was scared of having to face everyone the next day at school, but no one knew it was me who did it. In fact, I went up and talked to the girl in math class just to get to know her a little and let her know she wasn't alone. Turns out, she's a really cool, nice person. We've been friends ever since, and she still doesn't know it was me who stopped the cyberbullying. The good kind of pressure. Not all peer pressure is bad. In fact, much of it can be very good. If you can find a friend who puts positive pressure on you to be your best, then hang on to him or her because you've got something very special, someone who's got your back. If you find yourself wanting to stand up, but instead you are continually caving into peer pressure, here are two things you can do. First, build your personal bank account. If your self-confidence and self-respect are low, how can you expect to have the strength to resist? What can you do? You can begin today to build your PBA, little by little. Make a promise to yourself and keep it. Help someone in need. Develop a talent. Renew yourself. Eventually, you'll have sufficient strength to forge your own path instead of following the beaten ones. Second, write your mission statement and set goals. If you haven't decided what your values are, how can you expect to stick up for them? It will be a whole lot easier to say no if you know what goals you're saying yes to. For example, it's easier to say no to cutting class when you're saying yes to your goal of getting good grades and making it to college. The common ingredient of success. In the final analysis, putting first things first takes discipline. It takes discipline to manage your time. It takes discipline to overcome your fears. It takes discipline to be strong in the hard moments and resist peer pressure. A man by the name of Albert Gray spent years studying successful people in an attempt to figure out that special ingredient that made them all successful. What do you think he found? Well, it wasn't dressing for success or eating Greek yogurt or having a positive mental attitude. Instead, this is what he found. Read it carefully. Albert Gray's common denominator of success. All successful people have the habit of doing the things failures don't like to do. They don't like doing them either necessarily, but their disliking is subordinated to the strength of their purpose. What does this mean? It means that successful people are willing to suck it up from time to time and do things they don't like doing. Why do they do them? Because they know these things will lead them to their goals. In other words, sometimes you just got to exercise your special human tool called willpower to get things done, whether you feel like it or not. Do you think a concert pianist always enjoys hours of practice each day? Does a person who is committed to earning her own way through college enjoy taking on a second job? I remember reading a story about an all-American collegiate wrestler who was asked what the most memorable day of his career had been. He replied that it was the one day during his career when practice had been canceled. He hated practice, but was willing to endure it for a greater purpose, his love of being the best he could be. A final word. We've surveyed thousands of people on the 7 habits, and guess which habit is the hardest one to live? You guessed it, it's habit 3. So don't get discouraged if you struggle with it. You've got company. I want you to take some time and honestly answer the questions on this table. Identify your biggest time wasters. Do you really need to spend 2 hours checking out other people's Instagrams or playing video games? What are your biggest time wasters? Are you a pleaser? Someone who says yes to everything and everyone? If so, have the courage to say no today when it's the right thing to do. Think of ways you can politely decline an invitation for something that's not important to you. If you have this in your mind in advance, it'll be that much easier for you to respond when something comes up that isn't important to you. If you have an important test in 1 week, don't procrastinate and wait until the day before to study. Suck it up. Study a little each day. How can you plan this into your day or your week? How are you going to remember to make time? Think of something you've procrastinated for a long time, but that's very important to you. Block out time this week to get it done. List some important things you've been putting off and try to schedule them on your calendar. I want you to write down your 7 most important big rocks for the upcoming week. Now, Block out time on your calendar to accomplish each one. Identify a fear that's holding you back from reaching your goals. It could be fear of a person, fear of emotions, fear of getting hurt. Decide right now to jump outside your comfort zone and stop letting that fear get the best of you. Write down a fear that's been holding you back. And last, how much impact does peer pressure have on you? Identify the person or people who have the most influence upon you. Ask yourself, am I doing what I want to do or what they want me to do? So think about the people who influence you most and whether or not that influence is positive, contributing to the things that are important to you, or if it's taking you away from those things that are important to you.